Back here with more of automobiles coverage of the Rolex Monterey Motorsports Reunion. Moving on to race 5B, 1961 to 63, Formula Junior machinery. These cars all running with disc brakes.
Well, that was one of the things, discs and drum. You had to do it. That was the rules said that you had to run with the production engine, modified of course, and you had to use the brakes from the car from which you took the engine. And the first juniors were Italians, and they had the little Fiat engine, and they had the drum brakes. The British changed all that with disc brakes because Jaguar, as you know, were the first people to win Le Mans with disc brakes, and it kind of caught on in England. And then Formula Junior started about the time that racing in the whole world changed with the change of Formula One. This is what happened after the Italian era.
Here's the green flag.
There's something that didn't happen very often. The pencil nose Gemini Mark IV shall lead them. This was usually a Lotus or a Cooper field, and many times a Brabham field. But that's an unusual car.
Car number 10, Timothy De Silva. It's a Mark IV. It was originally raced by Colin Davis.
Very fine long-distance endurance racer.
Only one of two Gemini Mark IVs in existence. That's a problem.
That looks like a Lotus 20 or a 22, and I can't tell the difference between the two.
You're going to have to walk a little quicker to get it off the track.
One hopes. Yeah, he's got a little bit of help from the marshals, bless him.
We were talking earlier as we were watching the first group how this is, or was, a stepping stone series as you made your quest to get to Formula One.
A lot of Formula One drivers graduated right from these cars right into Formula One. A name that may stick in your mind, Jim Clark in a Lotus 18. And there were some 18s in the last race that we saw. Right behind the Mark IV is a Lotus 27, or as Paul Fanner of Racer Magazine calls it, the Class Killer, the first monocoque chassis Formula Junior car. It was basically nothing more than a slightly smaller Formula One car. It was based on the Lotus 25 that was world champion in 1963.
Our race leader, Timothy De Silva, that Gemini, really sliding that thing around.
This didn't happen very often. You didn't often see a Gemini leading a 27.
Slower car in the way. Trying to find their way around. The Gemini goes to the outside and hangs on to the lead.
It's a very clean shape, the Gemini, very trim in the waist. And two Lotus 27s right behind him. Looks like a Brabham. That's a BT6, I think. Looks like a BT6. Designed by Ron Tornak, named after the guy who owned the company, Motor Racing Developments, Jack Brabham, 1959, 60, and 66 World Formula One champion.
Back in the field, well, there's car number 2 right there. That's Art Herbert, his Lola. The field makes their way by. Back in about, there's 152. He's back in about 18th place. We're going to find car 68.
'68 is a Lotus 22.
Yep, and it's got a very unique driver behind the wheel. We'll see him coming down the corkscrew here. There he goes. Guy behind the wheel is trying to figure out how to race a Formula Junior for the first time in his career. He was pretty good at Le Mans back in his day, wasn't he, Justin?
You know, he was pretty good at everywhere. And I don't know if everyone else on the grid knows that they're racing against the one and only Davy Jones. Some of the big Toyotas we saw and Mazdas over the weekend, they're more his scene. I actually handed Davy his steering wheel for that little Lotus before the race. He was only asked yesterday to do it. It literally is the circumference, the rim of my little finger, and it's all twisted. He hasn't driven a car with that little horsepower and that size since 1980, when he was 15 in Formula Ford. He's loving it. It was a little, literally shoe-in. When I say shoe-in, he's bigger than he was when he was 14. And he slid into the car. He took off down out of the pits, and I think a big smile on his face in there. It's lovely to see. Obviously, he does a lot of work with Jaguar, one of their lead test drivers. So it's great. I think he's having a good time out there, but he'll probably be wondering where the power is, Ralph, every time he sees the gas.
Well, I was talking to him about it earlier. The car is owned by Mitch McCullough out of New Jersey, and Mitch had told him, keep it above 5,000 RPMs at all times and don't take it over 9,000. You get below 5,000 RPMs and it just loses all the power to the car. Davey doesn't live too far from here, over in the Lake Tahoe area.
The cars he used to drive that had the leaper on them, the leaping cattle Jaguar, had as much as 1,100 horsepower. This has got to be a little bit of an adjustment for Davey.
A little bit different. Yeah, he was so worried about that steering wheel, not because he wasn't sure he could work it, but he was afraid he might break it because it was so thin.
Lotus steering wheels usually red leather around metal.
Yep.
That was their typical. And I can remember seeing a steering wheel that was a souvenir that Sterling Moss kept from one of his crashes, and he held the wheel so tightly he twisted it into a pretzel shape.
Yeah,
that's how strong he was and how weak the wheels were.
And this is the original livery of the car. This is the color scheme it ran in. Back up to the front of the field, our race leader, De Silva, 4 laps in.
And it looks like Denny Baker has taken his Lotus 27 by Art Heberts, and he is now second. And he's closing. This is a junior ace. This guy's practically a ringer in Formula Juniors, and he's got the best Formula Junior he could have for the job at hand, and that's running down that Gemini.
Whoop. Little slip there.
He knows who's coming after him. These guys know each other. They race a lot. He knows that's Danny Baker. And I've seen Danny win races here from third place on the last lap.
Car that's been club raced throughout Europe and North America, 63 Lotus. Danny out of San Francisco, just north of here. So 122, that car right there is a pretty interesting story behind this machine here. It's a 1961 Lotus 2022. It's owned by Jeff Anderson, and the interesting thing about this car, Chuck, it was used in the movie Grand Prix. It's a car that James Garner actually sat in, and they would put different bodies on it and roll it around and make you think it was a different Formula One car. But it was actually Garner in this machine.
Well, it was easy to do in that time because the Formula One changed from 1.5 liters to 3 liters that year. Nobody knew what the Formula One cars were going to look like. And the juniors were very much the same size as many of the cars on the grid at Monaco in 1966 when John Frankenheimer started filming. So you could dress a Lotus 22 or a Brabham BT6. You could dress them up like a Formula One car, hang some fake pipes on them, put a little bit wider tire on it, and voila, you have a Mach Neo Quasi Formula One car.
So that might be the star car of our field here today, movie star car.
Well, James Garner was a fine driver, a great entrant, and he really knew his motorsport history, and I thought he did a pretty good job as Pete Aaron in Grand Prix.
Good battle going on here. Got the 33 in the fight. That British racing green with the white stripe is Doug Mockett's 1961 Cooper T56. It was a factory team car when Ken Tyrrell ran the Cooper Junior team. Finished second at Monaco and some other great finishes driven by John Love.
Speaking of stars, 2 other stars drove for the Cooper. That's the typical Cooper paint scheme. That green is so green it's almost black. But there was a guy who drove a Cooper Formula Junior T56 here you might have heard of, who was in a movie. His name is Steve McQueen. That car is sitting up at Bruce Canova's shop right now, and it looked just like that. He had a tryout with the Cooper Formula Junior team and the Cooper Mini Cooper team. John Cooper admired him so much. But Cooper was world champion in 59 and 1960. And this is the fruits of it.
Chasing him hard is Andrew Waite, and that green number 6, the 62 Lotus 22. Ran originally in the U.S. and shipped over to Australia. And a fight for the lead. Silva and Baker. Laps winding down in this one too. We were also talking earlier in the first Formula Junior event of the day. It's been a world tour celebrating the Formula Juniors this year.
Well, 60th anniversary when Johnny Laurani came up with the class. It was so popular. He really struck a nerve at just the right time with it. But then again, racing was changing. The balance of power shifting from red to green because of international rules. Got rid of Formula One, got rid of its fuel formula, and came up with aviation gasoline, and a whole bunch of British cars and engines became eligible and competitive.
Whoop, it is going to get competitive for our race leaders. Pretty good battle here too. Looks like the 51 is Sharon Edelman in a Brabham BT6.
Very sturdy car designed by a guy who designed Formula One car. That's the nice thing about this with Lotus, Cooper, and Brabham. You were getting the lead guy at the drafting table when you got your Formula Junior.
Spent a lot of time running in support of Formula One events, such as the Rhodesian Grand Prix, also the South African Grand Prix at Kyalami. Jeffrey Anderson working his way up the hill in the star car. Car's running in 24th right now. And here's our lead fight again.
Yeah, it looks like Danny Baker in the Lotus 27 has decided that time's just about out. We're working lap 8.
Whoa, we'll slide through 6.
Let's see if Danny goes through his favorite passing place at turn 11.
Well, he's filling up the mirrors to the inside and outside, headed to the corkscrew. And
he's
we
done
got
it.
A change for the lead.
He's done it.
And a change for second is Hebert now puts the number 2 right up in there as well. Then number 2, 63 Lola, marked 5A.
Order has been restored. Lotus and Lola at the front, Gemini in third. That's the way things used to be. Lotus was always at the front with guys like Jim Clark and Peter Arundel. Mike Spence went on to Team Lotus Formula One fame, world fame.
We're using up all the track there to the inside. We've seen some great passes in the 60-year history of this racetrack that very way, on 2 and 4 wheels.
On that, exactly, on that corner. That was, we should call what he did a Zanardi.
Well, Alex Zanardi did it. Casey Stoner did it. We've seen Valentino Rossi go through there. We've seen a handful of great moves like that. '53. Tom O'Grady in a Cooper T59.
The penultimate Cooper Formula Junior design. Lovely cars. Owen Maddock, who designed the Formula One cars, did a very nice job on that car. Very svelte. Of course, it's easy when you're cutting for a little car to cut that body work and make it look good. And Coopers were always handsome cars.
This should be the final lap.
One would hope. We're working lap 9. And Danny's already got it done. The only trouble is there's a guy behind him in a Lola who would like to reverse the order.
Yeah, Hebert has a shot at him. If he can get through 10 really good, he's going to be just a little short, I think.
There's no shame in finishing second to a Lotus 27 in a space frame Brabham, that's for sure. Because you're basically racing a pocket Formula One car when you're in a Lotus 27.
No, we're going again.
Good deal. Good deal for the number 2 car. Art, go get him. You've got 1 lap to go.
Through the double apex of turn 2.
Momentum, 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 and be tidy. That's the big thing. Everybody's going to be clean and fast now.
Yeah, no wasted energy, right? That battle here continues as well. 53 O'Grady fighting with Anderson in her Hollywood car over 22nd position.
Well, at least the number 22 car is appropriately numbered because it's also a Lotus 22. Lotus versus Cooper. Boy, the 1960 and 61 Formula One seasons come flooding back. And here come the leaders.
Oh boy, it's going to get tight in here.
Where one must plan carefully.
Yeah, through 10.
Danny's done it.
Yeah, he should be able to use Anderson's car to his advantage now. He's got the outside through the final corner at 11. Getting encouragement from his buddies to the left.
That's the way to do it.
And there's a checkered flag. So Danny Baker wins race 5B, 1961-63 Formula Juniors with disc brakes. A couple more charging up the hill on their final run, including David in his 1963 Lola Mark 5A. David Innes. That should be for 16th.
And another Lotus 27 in there.
Yeah, that's Alberto Fernandez. David comes over from England to race here with us today. And he's going to be able to go home, it looks like, by saying he won the battle.
And he defeated what we all often consider to be the class killer. He can be very proud of that drive in that Lola Mark 5.
Nice 16th place effort here today. We're coming right back. More racing after this.